An accident at work. He hit his head. We don't know if he'll wake up or not. I heard that phrase 43 times. I counted. I had nothing else to do. On the outside, I was a body on a bed, eyes closed, tubes in my mouth, a machine breathing for me. On the inside, I was wide awake in a place that felt like the bottom of a deep well. I couldn't move, couldn't open my eyes, couldn't scream. I could only listen. I heard the doctors, their careful professional voices, the way they softened their tone when they spoke to my family. We don't know if he'll wake up or not. The trauma to the brain was severe. We'll do everything we can. I heard my wife. She didn't bother softening anything. How long do you have to keep him like this? She asked the first week, when my head still felt like it was full of broken glass. I mean, if there's no real chance. There is a chance, the neurologist said. Small, but real. The EEG is not flat. There's activity. We don't give up on a man his age. He's only 61. 61. A grandfather, a father, a husband, a maintenance supervisor who'd gone up on a scaffolding to check a faulty light and ended up with his skull cracked open because some idiot had signed off on a corroded support. I remembered the snap, the rush of air, the floor coming at me. Then darkness. Then this. If the doctor hadn't been standing in the room, I thought, she'd pull the plug herself. I heard her heels click away, heard the door sigh shut. A moment later, I heard the voice that turned my stomach. Don't worry, darling, he murmured in the hallway, his voice low, but not low enough. We'll manage. They can't keep him on that machine forever. Mark, my wife's colleague from accounting, the one who always smiled too much at family barbecues, who patted my shoulder and called me sir. Even though he was nearly 40 himself, I'd always thought there was something off in his eyes when he looked at my wife. I just never imagined how far it had gone. The machine next to me beeped steadily, mocking me. Beep. He's alive. Beep. But for how long? Beep. How much is he worth dead? Later, I realized it was my daughter who saved me. Not my son from my first marriage, not the doctors, not the expensive equipment. My 14-year-old girl, my late-in-life child, the one I'd had when most men my age were already pacing hospital corridors as grandfathers, not fathers. I had a grandson older than her, out on the West Coast with my eldest boy. Life is strange that way. She came every day, every single day. Hi, Dad. Her small, trembling voice would come through the fog. It's me. I brought the book again. She'd pull the chair closer. I couldn't see her, but I could sense her presence, like a warm patch in a cold room. Where did we stop? Right. Here. You always said this was your favorite part, remember? She read my old books, the heavy ones she barely understood Hemingway. Remark. A battered copy of The Count of Monte Cristo that still smelled faintly of cigarette smoke from my army days. Her tongue tripped over some of the words, but she kept going. When she got tired of reading, she talked. She told me about school, about the new math teacher who gave too much homework, about her friend Katya, whose parents were getting divorced, about how Mom is always staying late at work now. And she said it too casually, the way a child repeats a phrase they've heard but doesn't fully understand. I want to spend New Year's with you, Dad, she whispered once, when she thought the nurse had left. Even if you're sleeping, I'll bring tinsel and hang it on the bed. They can't forbid that, right? She turned 14 while I was trapped in that dark, heavy nowhere. She told me about the cake, about how Mom forgot to order it, so she bought some cheap thing at the supermarket and said, it's just a number anyway. My little girl laughed when she told me, but there was no joy in the sound. Come on, Dad, wake up, please, for me. So I stayed, days blurred, nights evaporated. Sometimes I drifted so far I thought I'd never get back. But every time I heard her voice, it was like a rope thrown down into the well. I grabbed it with whatever was left of me and held on. Then, one day, something changed. The beeping of that damned machine had become part of me. I hated it. I wanted to smash it, wanted to grab it and hurl it through the window. And then I saw it. Not in my mind. Not as a vague glow. I saw a gray blurred shape with tiny flickering lights. A rectangle. A screen. My hand moved. Clumsily, like it belonged to someone else, it twitched on the sheet, dragging dead weight. Fingers scraped against plastic. Something fell with a clatter. Alarm screamed. The machine went from a metronome to a siren. Vitals spiking. He's moving. Footsteps thundered around me. A bright light stabbed my eyes as someone forced them open. My eyelids felt like they were made of sandpaper. I squinted, blinked, tried to focus. "Can you hear me?" A face hovered above mine. White coat, silver glasses, tired eyes. "If you can hear me, blink twice." It took everything I had, but I did twice. "What's your name?" someone asked. "Sir, do you know where you are?" My tongue lay dead in my mouth, my lips were numb. I tried anyway. The first word that forced its way out sounded like a cough, a groan, but in my head it was clear. "Where's my daughter?" They leaned closer. I tried again, dragging sound from somewhere deep in my chest. "Duh!" My throat caught fire. They understood. People who work around coma patients learn to interpret broken sounds. "She's not here right now," the doctor said softly. "We'll call her. We'll call your family. You just focus on breathing. Understood?" I shook my head a fraction of a millimeter. Every muscle screamed, but I pushed the second message out, forcing air over shredded vocal cords. "Don't tell..." My lips trembled. "My wife." A nurse exchanged a look with the doctor. "I want to surprise her," I croaked. They thought it was sentimental. A romantic old fool wanting to give his wife a miracle. I saw it in their eyes. They had no idea, because while my body had been dead weight for 7 months, my mind had been wide awake, and I'd heard everything. The plans for the insurance payout, the compensation from the company, the new life they were going to build on my grave. I had been a silent witness to my own proposed execution, and I was not going to die. I remember the day of the accident more clearly than the day I got married. We were in the plant's main hall, the one with the high ceiling and the ugly metal beams. 35 years I'd worked in that place. Started as a kid sweeping floors, ended as maintenance supervisor with a staff of 20, a pension plan, and more gray hair than black. "Step away from the scaffolding, old man, I'll go," one of the younger techs, Misha, called out. "I asked you to tighten those bolts last week," I answered. "If they still creak, that's on me." He laughed. "You're a grandfather now. Let us do the risky stuff." I smiled at that grandfather. It still sounded strange in my own head. My eldest boy, Alex, had given me a grandson at 25. I'd held the infant and felt older and younger at the same time. I'd thought life couldn't surprise me anymore. I was wrong. I climbed up. Halfway to the ceiling, I heard the metallic groan. A warning, like an animal growling before it lunges. I opened my mouth to shout down to Misha. Then the world tilted. A crack, a rush of air. The sight of the concrete floor rushing toward me like a fist. I didn't feel the impact. Just a dull blow somewhere far away, and then a vast, compressing silence. Like someone had slammed the door on the world. Voices leaked through the crack under that door now and then. "Severe head trauma, skull fracture, cerebral edema. Will he survive?" I don't know. A lot of people talk around someone in a coma as if they're furniture nurses, paramedics, doctors, but some don't. I heard a young nurse at night, her sneakers squeaking softly as she checked the monitors. "Hi, Mr. Volkov," she'd whisper. "It's Olya, your favorite nurse. I changed your sheets and shaved you so you don't scare your granddaughter when she visits. I know you're in there." My uncle was in a coma once. He woke up. So you better wake up too. I wanted to thank her. I wanted to tell her I heard, that her meaningless chatter was a thread tying me to the surface. But I couldn't. Then my wife came. Her perfume arrived first, expensive, sweet. The one I'd bought her for our 20th anniversary, the year our late surprise, our Sasha, was born. It used to make me think of summer evenings on the balcony, her hair loose, her head on my shoulder. Now it made my stomach turn. You said there was no change, she snapped once at the doctor, her voice tight and impatient. It's only been 3 weeks, he answered. Coma recovery is unpredictable. There are encouraging signs. His brain activity is not flat. Reflexes are present. We wait. How long? She sighed, a put-upon sound, as if he'd told her the train would be 5 minutes late, not that her husband's life was hanging by a thread. There's no exact timetable. Weeks, months, sometimes longer. He wouldn't want this, she said. He told me once. He'd never want to be a vegetable. I wanted to howl I had said that, yes, but I hadn't imagined being trapped inside it when she repeated my words, using them like a knife. We need more time, the doctor replied. Allow me to do my job, please. If the doctor hadn't been there, I thought. If we'd been alone. I heard the way she exhaled through her nose. I knew that sound. She made it when she was about to say something she knew she shouldn't. Do you have any idea what kind of bills we have? She said at last. The mortgage, the school, his stupid lawsuit against the company. He doesn't even know if it will work. And now this. Yes, the lawsuit, the doctor said. If the investigation shows equipment failure, the company will pay damages. For now, concentrate on your husband. He's still here. Still here, barely. When she left the room, she slowed near my bed. I felt the mattress dip as she sat. Sergey, she whispered, if you can hear me, I don't know what to do. Her voice trembled. For a second, my heart softened. Maybe I imagined the coldness. Maybe I'd been unfair. Then she leaned closer. Don't make this harder than it has to be. She breathed into my ear. If you're going to go, go quickly. The door opened. She straightened, and the dip of the mattress vanished. Time's up, a nurse said. I know, my wife answered briskly. I have work. Yes, work. Work that smelled like Mark's cologne and cheap hotel soap. The first time he came, I couldn't believe it. I thought I was hallucinating his voice. So familiar from our barbecues and birthday dinners, sounded wrong here among the beeps and sterile air. God, that machine is annoying, he muttered. Does it have to be that loud? That's his heart monitor, the nurse said stiffly. And yes, it does. Footsteps, door, silence. Mark moved closer. I felt the faint warmth of a body near my arm. Sergey, he said, testing my name in his mouth like it was something foreign. It's Mark, from work. Remember me? I remembered him very well. The way his hand had lingered on my wife's waist in the kitchen once when he thought I wasn't looking. The way he called her Lena instead of Elena, as if it made him special. They say you can hear in a coma, he continued. If you can hear me, try not to hate me too much, old man. I tried to surge up, to strangle him with the wires. My body didn't move. I'm taking care of her, he went on. You can't, obviously. Someone has to. Life goes on, you know. The mattress dipped again. My wife must have been sitting beside me. Don't talk to him like that, she hissed. What if someone hears? He's in a coma, Mark said. Who's he going to tell? Me. I will tell everyone, I thought. One day. They came together after that, never holding hands when nurses were around, never standing too close. But their voices changed when they thought the staff had left. They dropped the polite tones, the careful distance, and they talked about money, about me. I checked the policy again, Mark said one evening. The life insurance pays double on accidental death. plus the company's liability if the court finds negligence. You're looking at a few $100,000 at least, maybe more, enough to pay off the mortgage and start over somewhere else, somewhere nicer, warmer. Remember what we talked about? Spain or Cyprus. He has to be dead for that, my wife whispered. They won't pay if he's like this forever. They won't keep him forever. Mark laughed softly. Machines cost money. Beds cost money. At some point they'll ask you what you want. You just have to be brave enough to say it. My heart hammered so hard the machine brayed in protest. A nurse rushed in. Please keep your voices down, she snapped. He's not deaf. He's a patient, not a chair. Sorry, my wife murmured. As soon as the door closed, Mark lowered his voice. You know what turns me on, he said. Mark, stop, she whispered, but there was a breathless edge to her protest. This, the sound of that machine while we talk about what happens when we switch it off, it's like standing in front of a safe and hearing the ticking of the lock. 1 turn, 2 turns, and then, fortune. They laughed. Soft, low. The kind of laughter lovers share under blankets. That was the moment something inside me died. It wasn't the betrayal of the body. I could almost have forgiven that people get lonely. People make mistakes. I was an old man with scars and calloused hands. He was younger, smooth, polished. I could have blamed myself, my work, my tiredness. But this was worse. It wasn't lust. It was calculation. It was 2 people leaning over my half-dead body and fantasizing about how my death would look on paper. And then, like a small candle flickering in a dark church, my daughter's voice came. Hi, Dad. It's me, Sasha. The tone changed immediately. Their laughter cut off. They stepped away from the bed. You shouldn't be here alone, my wife said sharply. You have homework. I did it, Sasha said. I want to read to Dad. I'll take her, Mark offered too quickly. No, Sasha said, and in that one syllable I heard something I hadn't heard in a long time. Steal. I'm fine. You can go. Footsteps. Door. Silence. The chair creaked as she settled beside me. Pages rustled. I picked your favorite, she said. The Count of Monte Cristo. You said it was about unfairness and patience. About how sometimes you have to wait a long time to get justice. If I could have smiled, I would have. I don't really understand it, she admitted. But you promised you'd read it with me someday. So I guess I have to catch up. She started reading, stumbling over the French names. Her voice wobbled on the long sentences, but she didn't give up. When her throat got tired, she stopped and just talked. You missed Grandpa's birthday, she said once. She meant my father-in-law, not me. My own father had been gone 10 years. Mom said we were too busy to visit him. He called me later, cried on the phone. I think he misses you too. I wanted to tell her I missed everyone, that every word that reached me was a lifeline, that her voice kept me from letting go. New Year's soon, she whispered another time. Mom says we're going to Aunt Marina's. I told her I want to stay here. She said it's stupid, but I'll come anyway, even if it's just for 5 minutes. I'll bring you a little tree, okay? She did. I smelled pine in the room for days after that. Somewhere, a nurse with a soft heart had broken the rules for a girl with a too-adult stare. Days turned into weeks. Winter melted into muddy spring. They changed my sheets. They rotated my limbs so they wouldn't turn into dead branches. Sometimes, in the darkest hours of the night, I thought about giving up, about letting the machine beep one last time and then fall silent. But every time I drifted too far, Sasha's voice reached me again, like a rope thrown down the well. Come on, Dad. You promised you'd teach me to drive next year. You can't bail on that. So I stayed, until the day my hand moved. Rehab was worse than the coma. People think waking up is the end of the story. It isn't. It's the beginning of a second, harder fight. My first clear memory is of being thirsty, mouth like cotton, tongue too big. I tried to speak and my throat tore itself open like a rusty hinge. The nurse held a small sponge on a stick to my lips. "Easy," she murmured. "Just a little. You haven't swallowed in months." Months. "How long?" I rasped. 7 months, she said softly. "You gave everyone quite a scare, Mr. Volkov, but you made it." 7 months of being a listener in my own death watch. They moved me from intensive care to a step-down unit, then to rehab. Every change felt like a mountain. Sitting up for 10 minutes made me sweat. Standing for 30 seconds made black spots dance before my eyes. Walking 3 steps with a walker felt harder than climbing Everest. Again, the physical therapist, a sturdy woman named Larissa, would say, "You want to go home or not?" Home. The word tasted bittersweet. Between exercises, I lay in bed and thought. I could tell the doctors everything I could tell them how my wife had pushed, gently but persistently, to consider options. How Mark had come with her, how their voices changed when they thought nobody was listening. I could tell them about the conversations, the insurance, the way they spoke about me like a number. But what then? Doctors aren't police. They could frown, scold her, maybe note something in my file. It wouldn't change the fact that legally, I was married to a woman who had already rehearsed my funeral in her head. And there was Sasha. If I confronted Elena too early, she'd go on the offensive. She was good at that. She'd twist my coma memories into hallucinations, paranoia, confusion. She'd take my daughter, and by the time the courts got their paperwork in order, she'd have filled that girl's head with poison. I needed facts proof. A way to show everyone exactly who my loving wife had become. The way I'd seen Mark in all his glory without moving a muscle. I needed to do what Edmond Dantes had done in that book my daughter had read beside my bed. I needed to be patient. I needed to plan. One morning when Larissa had gone and the room was quiet except for the TV buzzing faintly from the next room, I asked for the hospital phone. "Who would you like to call?" the nurse asked. "My daughter," I said. "The little one." And my son, the older one. Then a lawyer. Her eyebrows shot up at that, but she dialed without comment. I spoke to Alex first, my eldest. He answered on the first ring, voice tight. "Dad?" "Still alive," I croaked. "Don't sound so disappointed." He laughed and cried at the same time. He told me about his wife, about my grandson's school play, about how they'd tried to come more often but the flights were expensive. Guilt poured out of him in a stream. I let it wash over me. "Later," I said. "We'll talk later. Right now I need a good lawyer." "Business?" he asked. "Family." He went quiet for a moment. "I know someone," he said. "He helped my friend with a custody case. I'll text you his number." Sasha came next. When the nurse placed the phone against my ear and I heard her inhale on the other end, everything inside me went still. "Dad?" she whispered. "Hi, baby." There was a clatter, like she'd dropped something, then the muffled sound of footsteps. "Dad!" Her voice went up an octave. "Oh, God! Oh, God! You're awake!" "For now," I said. "They keep trying to make me exercise. It's torture." She laughed through tears, the wet sound breaking my heart. "I knew it," she said. "I knew you'd come back." "Of course," I answered. "I promised you, remember? Driving lessons." Silence for a moment. Then her voice lower, careful. "Does Mom know?" "Not yet," I said. "And I don't want her to, not for a little while." "Why?" There was fear in that single syllable. Fear my coma had taught her to feel. "Because I have a surprise for her," I said, "and for Mark." She inhaled sharply. "You heard?" she whispered. I heard everything, I replied. Every visit, every word, all 7 months. On the other end, my 14-year-old daughter, who had spent almost every day talking to a motionless body, went very, very quiet. Good, she said at last, and in that one word, I heard all the anger she'd had to swallow. Good. The lawyer's name was Dmitry Petrov, late 40s, compact, balding, tired eyes that had seen too many divorces. He came 2 days later carrying a briefcase and a small recorder. Your son said you want a divorce, he said without preamble, and custody of your minor daughter. In your condition, that's ambitious. I'm more capable than I look, I said, forcing myself to sit a little straighter. I walked to the bathroom yesterday. He nodded without smiling. Tell me everything, he said, from the accident to this moment. Don't leave anything out, especially the parts you think make you sound crazy. I told him about the scaffolding, about the silence, about the voices. I described conversations word for word, the way Mark's tone changed when talking about money, the way my wife's voice trembled when she asked how long a man could live on a machine. When I finished, Dmitry sat back in his chair and rubbed his forehead. Do you have any idea, he said slowly, how many people tell me I just know in divorce cases? I feel it in my gut. She's cheating. He's lying. They want my money. Feelings don't hold up in court, Mr. Volkov. Evidence does. So get some, I said. You're the lawyer. He stared at me, then huffed a dry laugh. You remind me of my father, he muttered. Old generation. Thinks the world is like it was 30 years ago. You can't just accuse someone of plotting to kill you for insurance unless you can prove it. That's a serious allegation. They're not plotting to kill me, I said. They're plotting to let me die. There's a difference. In court, not much. He leaned forward. Look, a divorce you can get, no question. The coma, the affair, abandonment of marital duties, judges eat that up. Custody is harder. The court usually favors the mother for a minor daughter unless there's serious misconduct. Abuse, addiction, criminal behavior. Saying some ugly things in a hospital room isn't enough. Not unless... Unless what? Unless you have a video, he said, or audio at least. Something that shows intent. Something where they talk clearly about the money and your death. Not speculation. Not if he dies. Calculations, plans. Maybe pressure on the medical staff. They did that. My chest tightened. They just didn't know I was listening. Then we need them to do it again, Dmitry said simply. On camera this time. The judge can ignore your coma story. He can't ignore his own eyes. How? I asked. They already think I'm a vegetable once they know I'm awake. They'll be careful. He glanced at the machines next to my bed, at the wires still running into my arms, the monitor tracing the jagged mountain range of my heartbeat. You said they have a fetish, he said slowly. The word came out awkwardly, as if his mouth wasn't used to saying it. Talking about money and your death in your presence. Yes, I said, feeling bile rise in my throat. It excites him. The sound of the monitor. The idea of the switch. He thinks it's romantic. Good, Dmitry said. Good? I repeated. It means they'll come back, he replied. They'll do it again. Only this time, we'll make sure someone else is listening too. That was the moment the plan was born. A second hook, a second act. When I told the doctor I wanted the truth kept from my wife a little longer, he frowned. It's not ethical, he said. She's your legal representative. She has a right to know about significant changes in your condition. And I have a right to be alive, I answered. She almost took that from me twice. He folded his arms. You understand there's a difference between what you think happened and what we can prove, he said carefully. Coma hallucinations are common. Patients construct memories from sounds, touches, impressions. I know what I heard, I said, and so do some of your nurses. Ask the one who told them off for talking about me like I wasn't here. His mouth tightened. So I'd hit something. The staff mentioned your wife being impatient, he admitted. But that doesn't mean she would have actually asked us to withdraw support. She didn't have to, I said. She just had to hesitate long enough when you asked for consent. He was coaching her. They can't keep him on the machine forever. Those were his exact words. The doctor's jaw clenched. He sat down heavily in the chair by my bed. I've worked in neurology 22 years, he said. I've seen families pray on their knees for one more day, and I've seen families who say, pull the plug after 3. Your daughter. She's one of the first kind. She believes in you. She asked us not to give up. You should know that. I do know, I said softly. She's the reason I'm still here. What exactly do you want from us? He asked. Aside from hiding the good news from your wife, I want you to schedule a family discussion about life support, I said. Tell her my condition is unchanged. Tell her the hospital review board wants her input. Invite her to come with her. Colleague. She'll bring him. She always does. Ask Sasha to be there too. She won't leave me alone with them. And then? He studied my face. And then I'll do what I've been doing for 7 months, I said. I'll lie very still and listen while they hang themselves with their own words. He shook his head. This isn't a movie, Mr. Volkov. We don't set traps for relatives in my hospital. Dmitri chose that moment to clear his throat. Actually, he said calmly, you already record most conversations in this ward, do you not? For liability reasons. The doctor's eyes snapped to him. Who are you? His lawyer. Dmitri produced a card. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal. I'm asking you to protect your patient. If his recollections are even half right, his wife has a conflicting financial interest in his death. That matters, ethically and legally, especially when a minor child is involved. The doctor hesitated. We can't video record without consent, he said. Then make sure the consent form is in front of her when she talks, Dmitri replied. It will only make her more honest. People feel safe when they think they're in control. The doctor was silent for a long time. I have to think about this, he said at last. While you think, I said, remember this. 7 months ago, I trusted my wife more than anyone in the world. I would have signed anything she put in front of me. I'd have believed any story she told me about money, doctors, treatment. That trust almost killed me. I'm asking you not to make the same mistake. He looked older when he left than when he'd arrived. 2 days later, he came back. We'll do it, he said, on one condition. Name it, I said. You don't move, he replied. You don't speak. You don't open your eyes. Not until I say so. If she suspects you're conscious, she'll change her behavior and all of this will be for nothing. Can you manage that? I almost laughed. After 7 months of being a statue, another hour would be a gift. Yes, I said. Good. He exhaled. The board wants clarity about your case anyway. Your wife has been vocal about costs. It's time we heard what she really wants us to do officially. Dmitri touched the recorder in his pocket. And unofficially, he murmured, too low for the doctor to hear. They scheduled the family conference for Friday afternoon. Mom says we have to go to the hospital again, Sasha told me on the phone the day before, her voice flat. She's been strange. Happier, almost. I don't like it. Do you trust me? I asked. Yes, she said without hesitation. Then I need you to do exactly what I ask tomorrow, I said, no matter how weird it seems. Can you do that? Yes, she repeated. A little slower this time, but still firm. Good. When you come into the room, I'll be on the ventilator again. They're reconnecting it for the meeting. What? Panic rose in her voice. Are you worse? No, I said quickly. It's symbolic. Theater. The machine makes noise. They like the noise. It makes them talk. Just remember this. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, I'm not dying. Not this time. Okay, she sniffed. What do you want me to do? Come in, I said. Kiss my forehead like you always do. Then tell Mom you forgot a book in the car and leave. That's lying, she said automatically. For a good cause, I answered. When you come back, the door might be closed. Open it anyway, and make sure your phone is recording. Can you do that? Silence. Then a soft, dangerous exhale. Yes, she said. I can. What about afterward? She asked. When Mom finds out you're awake? Afterward, I said, you'll see something I've wanted to show you your whole life. What's that? That your dad is not as weak as he looks. Friday came smelling of disinfectant and fear. They wheeled in a ventilator I no longer needed and reattached the tube. It was humiliating to feel that plastic worm slid down my throat again, to surrender speech after fighting so hard to regain it. But I let them. Sometimes you have to go backward to move forward. Last time, I told myself, last time you do this. They adjusted my position, arranged my hands on the blanket, checked the monitors. The doctor looked down at me. Remember, he said quietly, still, no matter what. I blinked once. Then I let my face go slack. I'd practiced in the mirror for 2 days. The unfocused stare, the half-open mouth, the heavy lids. A corpse that hadn't realized it was supposed to lie down. The door opened. Perfume reached me first. Then footsteps. 3 sets. Is it really necessary? My wife's voice snapped. Putting him back on that thing? For the purposes of the review, yes, the doctor replied. We need to evaluate all options, including continued life support. How is that an option? Mark said. The man's been sleeping for months. Coma is not sleep, the doctor said patiently, and his reflexes have improved since admission. There are signs of brain activity. That's why we wanted this conversation. We need to understand your expectations. My heart thudded harder. I forced myself to breathe slow, shallow, like before. Hi, Dad. Sasha's voice came small and raw. Lips brushed my forehead. A hand touched mine, fingers cool and trembling. She leaned close to my ear. I'm here, she whispered, so quietly that I knew only I could hear. I've got you. Then louder. I forgot the book in the car. Can I go get it? What book? My wife asked sharply. The one I read to Dad, Sasha said. He likes it when I read. He doesn't like anything, my wife snapped. He's not here. That's enough, the doctor said sharply. Of course you can get the book, young lady. Take your time. The door opened, closed. We were alone. I appreciate you both coming, the doctor began. As you know, the hospital's ethics committee reviews long-term coma cases regularly. Given the resources involved, the patient's quality of life, the family's wishes. The family wants closure, Mark interrupted. I heard the scrape of a chair as he sat. We can't live in this limbo forever. The family is more than you, the doctor said coldly. Mr. Volkov has a minor daughter who visits daily and adult children as well. Their wishes matter, too. She's a child, my wife said. She doesn't understand. He told me once if something like this ever happened, he wouldn't want to drag it out. He said he'd rather go quickly than be a burden. He also said he wanted to see Sasha graduate, the doctor replied calmly. He can't have both. There was a pause. I could picture her, lips pressed together, nails digging into her palm. She hated being contradicted in front of outsiders. You're asking if I'll authorize turning it off, she said at last. Is that it? No, the doctor said. I'm asking what you want for your husband, whether you want full code, aggressive intervention, or whether you'd prefer we limit measures. Only you can answer that. Another silence. Then Mark cleared his throat. Look, he said, his voice adopting that fake, reasonable tone he used when trying to sell something. "We all loved Sergei, but we have to be realistic. He fell from 10 meters. His skull cracked. He's been like this for 7 months. The chances of him waking up and being himself are tiny. Tiny." The word stabbed. "You're not a doctor," the neurologist replied evenly. "No," Mark said. "But I can read. We Googled coma prognosis. It's not pretty. You're asking Lena to keep paying emotionally, financially, indefinitely for a man who's basically gone. Do you think that's fair?" "He's not gone," the doctor said. "He's not here either," my wife whispered. And there it was. The line she wouldn't be able to take back. I felt Dimitri's invisible lawyer pen underline it, circle it twice. "You've been under tremendous stress," the doctor said more gently. "Maybe it would help to talk to our counselor. For now, we recommend continuation of care. There are positive signs. We can reevaluate in 6 months. 6 months, she repeated, as if he'd suggested 6 years in prison. "And who pays for that?" "Insurance covers much of it," the doctor said, "and the company's preliminary report suggests their liability. If negligence is confirmed, the settlement could be substantial. Bait on the hook." "How substantial?" Mark asked immediately. "I can't discuss exact figures," the doctor replied, "but serious head injuries and workplace accidents often result in 6-figure settlements, sometimes more." "Alive or dead?" Mark asked. The doctor actually choked on air. "Excuse me? Do they pay more if he dies?" Mark repeated, unembarrassed. "Forgive me for being blunt, but it matters. There are policies that double on death, right?" "Life insurance sometimes offers that," the doctor said stiffly. "Company liability, no. Damages are calculated based on loss of income, care costs, emotional distress. It's complex. But if he dies, you can stop paying for this," my wife said quietly. "The machines, the nurses, the food he can't taste, and we can move on." "Move on? You wouldn't be the first widow in this ward," Mark said. "People rebuild. They heal. They take their compensation and start over. That's what it's for." "That's enough," the doctor snapped. "This is a human life, not a balance sheet." "I know," my wife said. Her voice broke, at least for show. "You think I haven't watched him for months? It's torture. Coming here, seeing him like this, hearing that damn machine. Sometimes I think it's mocking me, counting the days until I sign the paper." There it was, clear as day. My blood thundered in my ears. I forced myself not to move. The ventilator hissed, oblivious. The monitor traced its green heartbeat mountain. "You're under no obligation to make that decision today," the doctor said, more controlled. "As long as there's a chance." "Chance," she repeated. "Do you know what I think about when I sit here?" "I don't want to know," he said. "I think about the house we could buy near the sea," she whispered. "About living somewhere quiet, warm, leaving this gray city behind." He used to talk about it. "When I retire, we'll go south," he said. Now I look at him and think, if he went, if I had the insurance, the settlement, we could still go, just differently. "Lena," Mark murmured, a warning and an encouragement at once. "And what about your daughter?" the doctor asked, voice like ice. "Have you asked her how she feels about trading her father for a house by the sea?" "She'll adjust," my wife said. "Children are resilient, and she won't be alone. She'll have Mark. He's better with her than her last dad ever was." The last dad. Me. Reduced to a placeholder, an obstacle. Something inside me, already cracked, broke clean through. Right then, the door handle clicked. "Mom?" Sasha's voice came, shaky. "The nurse said I can come in." "Nobody said—" my wife began. "She's his daughter," the doctor said sharply. She has every right to be here. The door closed again. Small footsteps approached. I imagined her taking in the scene, her mother, eyes bright with unshed tears, Mark, hands folded, the doctor, jaw clenched, her father, motionless, bound to machines again. "Why is he back on the ventilator?" she asked, voice rising. "He was getting better." "This is a review," her mother said briskly. "The doctors are talking about options." "What options?" Sasha asked. "Grown-up options," my wife replied. "Things you don't understand." "Try me," Sasha said. Silence. Then the sound of a chair scraping as she sat. "Mom told me," she said suddenly, her words tumbling out in a rush, "that if you don't wake up soon, I'll have a new dad." The air in the room went thinner. Even the machine seemed to hesitate. "I was joking," my wife said quickly. "You know I joke." "You said," Sasha continued, voice shaking, "Mark will be a better dad than the last one. That wasn't a joke." "Sasha," Mark began. "Don't call me that," she snapped. "You're not my father." "If your father doesn't wake up," my wife said, and now her voice was that same cold, irritated tone she used on telemarketers, "we will have to move on. We can't cling to a corpse forever." "He's not a corpse," Sasha said. "He's right there." Her chair scraped again. I felt the warmth of her hand slip into mine, small and determined. "Don't turn it off," she whispered. "Please, don't turn off anything. Please." Her fingers squeezed mine so hard it hurt. The doctor cleared his throat. "Nobody is turning anything off today," he said. "We're done here." "No," my wife said suddenly. "We're not." He paused. "What do you mean?" "I mean I'm tired," she said. Years of resentment poured into those 3 words. "I'm tired of this room, of this machine, of this half-life, of coming here and seeing him like this. He wouldn't want it. He said so, and Stop," the doctor said. "I give you my consent," she continued, barrel moving now, unstoppable. "If he doesn't show real improvement in the next month, you have my consent to withdraw life support." The words slammed into me like that concrete floor had. "Lena, you don't understand what you're saying," the doctor snapped. "You can't." "I can," she insisted. "I'm his wife." "And I'm his lawyer." Dimitri's voice came from the doorway, startling everyone. "You might want to reconsider saying that in front of witnesses." "What are you doing here?" my wife hissed. "Observing," Dimitri said, "with the hospital's permission." "You had no right." "I had every right," he said calmly. "My client authorized me to be present at any meeting concerning his treatment." "Your client?" she scoffed. "He's in a coma." Sasha's nails dug into my palm. Her breath hitched. That was when I decided I'd heard enough. I let my fingers move. Just a little at first. A twitch. A curl. Sasha gasped. "Dad?" she whispered. "Probably reflex," my wife said quickly. "He does that sometimes. It doesn't mean anything." I opened my eyes slowly, deliberately. I raised my head. The ventilator hose pulled against my lip, stretching the tape. I reached up with the hand she was clutching, tore the tape off, and pulled the tube out of my throat in one long burning motion. The monitor shrieked. Nurses shouted. Somewhere someone dropped a clipboard. In the middle of the chaos, I swung my legs over the side of the bed. They felt like sandbags. My feet hit the floor anyway. I stood, not steadily, not perfectly, but upright, on my own. My wife's face went white, then gray, then a color I'd never seen on a living human being. Mark's mouth fell open. For once he had nothing to say. Sasha stared, eyes huge, tears rolling silently down her cheeks. "You can turn it off," I said, my voice raw but clear, gesturing at the machine that had mocked me for 7 months. "I won't need it anymore." Then I turned to my daughter. "But don't worry," I added, meeting her gaze and letting her see all of it. My love, my fury, my resolve. I am not going anywhere. Not this time. Not on their terms. The trial came months later, after the rehab, after the tests, after the endless paperwork. My body healed faster than my trust. Muscles remembered. Nerves sputtered back to life. I walked with a cane now, but I walked. I could climb stairs. I could brew my own coffee. I could stand in a courtroom without swaying. The legal process crept like winter ice. Dmitri filed for divorce on grounds of adultery, abandonment, and endangerment. He filed for full custody of Sasha, citing my wife's conflicting financial interests, and demonstrated willingness to prioritize monetary gain over her husband's life. She hired her own lawyer, a smooth-talking man with a sleek tie and a permanent frown, who kept referring to me as the injured party in a tone that made it sound like an accusation. She was under stress, he said in court. People say things they don't mean in hospitals. I meant every word, she muttered once, too low for the judge to hear I heard it. The judge was a heavy-set woman in her 50s with sharp glasses and sharper eyes. She'd seen everything. Fake tears, real sobs, staged apologies. She didn't flinch easily. Dmitri called me to the stand first. Mr. Volkov, he said, in your own words, tell the court what happened after your accident. I told them, not every detail. That would have taken days. But enough. The scaffolding, the coma, the voices, the perfumed visits, the laughter. I described how it felt to be trapped in my own body, to hear my wife and her lover turning my life into a calculation. Do you have evidence of these conversations? The judge asked, eyes narrowed. Yes, Your Honor, Dmitri said. We do. He held up a USB drive like a priest holding up a relic. The hospital kindly provided a recording of the ethics committee meeting, he said. Additionally, my client's daughter recorded part of the conversation on her phone when she returned to the room. With the court's permission, we'd like to play both. The other lawyer stood. Objection, Your Honor. The minor's recording is an invasion of privacy. And the ethics committee meeting? The judge asked. Procedural concerns. Overruled, she said. Play the tapes. The courtroom went quiet. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. First came the hospital's recording. The quality was clear. You could hear every word, the doctor's careful tone, my wife's rising irritation, Mark's cold logic. You have my consent to withdraw life support. The words seemed to echo off the wood panels Mark shifted in his seat, looking smaller with each sentence. At the defense table, my wife's hands clenched around a tissue that remained stubbornly dry. Then came Sasha's recording. The volume was lower, the angle different, but you could still make out the crucial lines. You'll have a new dad. He's better than your last one. We can't cling to a corpse forever. When the recording ended, the silence was so complete you could hear someone breathing in the back row. The judge looked at my wife. Mrs. Volkova, she said slowly, do you deny that this is your voice? My wife swallowed. I was distraught, she said. I didn't mean, I was just venting. It was hypothetical. Everyone knew it was hypothetical. I did not, the doctor said from the witness bench. His voice carried through the room like a hammer blow. I took it very literally, which is why I recommended continuation of care and documented your statements. I was alarmed. So you admit my client was under emotional distress, her lawyer said quickly. She was not in a rational state. She was in a very rational state, the doctor interrupted. She asked detailed questions about money. A murmur ran through the room. The judge held up a hand. Enough, she said. I have heard what I needed to hear. She turned to me. Mr. Volkov, why are you asking for full custody of your daughter? I looked at Sasha. She sat in the front row next to Dmitri's assistant, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She'd worn the dress I'd bought her for her 15th birthday. She looked far too old and far too young at the same time. "Because she saved my life," I said simply. "Not just by insisting they keep me on the machines, by coming every day, by reading to me, by giving me a reason to come back, and because her mother once saw her father as an obstacle to a house by the sea." I swallowed. My throat still felt tight sometimes when I spoke too much. "I'm not a perfect man," I said. "I worked too much. I missed school plays. I'm learning to walk again at 61. I don't have a new house near the sea to offer her. All I have is a small apartment, my pension, my lawsuit against the company, and my promise that I will never calculate her life on a balance sheet the way her mother did with mine." The judge looked at Sasha. "Do you wish to say anything?" she asked. Sasha's lawyer stood. "Only if she wants to, Your Honor." Sasha stood. Her knees trembled, but her voice did not. "I want to live with my dad," she said. "He's the one who actually wanted me to live. Mom wanted money. She told me I'd be better off once he was gone. She said Mark would be a better dad, but he didn't come to the hospital. Not really. He came to see the machines. He came to talk about money. Only Dad and I, and the nurses, believed he'd wake up." She took a breath. "And he did," she finished. "So I think he deserves a chance to be my dad properly before it's too late." The judge's eyes softened for a fraction of a second. Then the mask came back. "Thank you," she said. "You may sit down." When it was my wife's turn to testify, her lawyer tried everything: stress, depression, fear. "My client was in shock, Your Honor." My client did not truly intend to act on those words. It was a coping mechanism. "Did you or did you not tell your daughter she would have a new father when her current one died?" the judge asked. My wife pressed the tissue to her eyes, still dry. "I only meant she would not be alone," she said. I misspoke. "Did you or did you not give consent to withdraw life support if your husband did not improve?" the judge asked. I felt pressured by the doctors," she said. "They kept talking about costs, about resources, about review boards. I didn't know what I was saying." "The recording suggests the opposite," the judge replied. "It suggests the doctors were recommending continuation and you insisted on closure." Her lawyer tried to redirect, to ask about my supposed temper, about my rigidity, about difficulties in the marriage. The judge listened, nodded, made notes. None of it mattered. The moment she'd called me a corpse in front of my daughter, she'd lost. In the end, the ruling took less than 15 minutes. "In the matter of the divorce of Sergei and Elena Volkov," the judge said, voice formal, "the court finds that the marriage has irretrievably broken down due to the respondent's adultery and conduct. The petition for divorce is granted." My wife's lips turned white. "In the matter of custody of the minor child, Alexandra Volkov," the judge continued, "the court finds that while both parents are biologically capable of providing care, the best interests of the child are served by placing primary physical custody with the father, with reasonable visitation rights for the mother, to be supervised at the court's discretion." There was a sharp intake of breath behind me. It might have been my wife. It might have been Mark. It might have been both. "The court is particularly troubled," the judge went on, "by the recorded evidence of the mother's readiness to consider the father's death as a financial solution, and to frame it as a benefit for the child. Such reasoning is incompatible with the duties of a custodial parent." She banged the gavel once. "Case closed," she said. Just like that, the balance shifted. My wife stormed out of the courtroom without looking back. Mark followed, his shoulders hunched. I watched them go and felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction. Just a vast, quiet emptiness where my marriage had been. Then a hand slipped into mine. I looked down. Sasha stood beside me, eyes shining. "So," she said, trying for casual and failing, "does this mean we can finally finish that book?" I laughed. It hurt my ribs, but I laughed anyway. It means, I said, that we have all the time in the world to finish it. In the months that followed, we moved into a small rental apartment on the edge of the city. It wasn't by the sea. The wallpaper peeled in one corner. The pipes rattled when someone upstairs flushed. But it was ours. We set up my rehab equipment in the living room. Sasha taped her school schedule to the fridge. My grandson visited in the summer, taller than I remembered, suddenly shy around his teenage aunt. We ate soup, watched bad movies, argued about music. Sometimes, late at night, I woke in a cold sweat, ears straining for the beep-beep of the machine. It wasn't there. Instead, I heard the rustle of pages from the next room, where Sasha fell asleep with a book on her chest. I heard the faint buzz of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock on the wall, the city humming beyond the window. Life. Imperfect, noisy, fragile life. One evening, as we sat on the balcony with mugs of tea, Sasha asked, "Do you ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't come every day?" I looked at her. "Yes," I said, "every day." "And?" she asked. "And then I stop," I replied, "because that's not what happened." She was quiet for a moment. "Mom called," she said suddenly. "Today. She wants to see me." "What do you want?" I asked. She thought about it. "I want to see her too," she admitted. "She's still my mom. I don't want to live with her." "You don't have to," I said. "That's what the court decided. Visitation, not custody." "Will you be mad if I go?" she asked. "No," I said. "I'll be mad if you go somewhere you don't feel safe and don't tell me. That's different." She nodded. "Okay," she said. "I'll think about it." We sat in silence for a while. "Dad?" she said. "Yes?" "When you were in the coma, did you ever hear me say something stupid? Something I should regret?" I thought of her reading clumsy French names, of her begging me to wake up, of her whispering, "I will come even if they forbid it." "No," I said, "not once." She smiled a little, relieved. "Good," she said, "because I meant all of it." So did I. The company eventually settled the lawsuit. The scaffolding had been overdue for replacement by 2 years, the paperwork falsified. My fall had been an accident, yes, but a preventable one. They paid enough to cover my rehab, secure a better home, maybe one day even buy a small place near the sea. "Will you move?" Dmitri asked when we signed the documents. "Maybe," I said. "One day." "With your wife?" he asked. I looked at him. "I'm done building houses on rotten foundations," I said. "From now on, I build only where the ground is solid." He nodded. "Your daughter worships you, you know," he said. "That's a lot of responsibility." "I know," I said softly. "I've had 7 months to think about how badly I could have wasted it." That night, Sasha fell asleep on the couch with The Count of Monte Cristo open on her knees. I took the book carefully, marked the page, and set it on the table. In the half-light of the room, she looked very young and very strong. My late-in-life daughter, my rope out of the well, my second chance. I sat beside her and listened to the sounds of our small apartment, her steady breathing, the pipes, the distant traffic. No beeping, no ticking countdown to my death. Just time. Time I intended to use well. They say coma patients don't remember, that it's all dreams and scrambled impressions. Maybe that's true for some, not for me. I remember every word my wife and her lover said over my head. I remember every time they treated my life like a line item. I remember every time my daughter chose hope instead. I was there when they planned my tidy, profitable death. And I was there when the judge signed the papers that freed me. The man who went up that scaffolding thought the worst thing that could happen to him was a fall. He was wrong. The worst thing was lying in a hospital bed, hearing the woman he loved ask how long it would take before the machine that kept him alive could be unplugged. The best thing was opening his eyes, standing up and saying, "You can turn it off, I won't need it anymore." Because by then, he'd learned something more valuable than any insurance payout. He'd learned who truly wanted him alive.
My grandpa's words really happened. I believe him. If you want more true tales stories like this, hit subscribe.